Hello, Williamson County Republicans. I want to welcome you to your district's Republican County Commission Candidate Forum. This is your opportunity to hear directly from who may represent your interests on the County Commission. The County Commission is the legislative body for Williamson County. They are entrusted with the responsibility to raise funds through taxation and in how that money is then spent. They also appoint replacements to any vacant elected office in Williamson County until the next regularly scheduled general election. There are 24 commissioners, 2 per district, and they serve for a 4-year term. It is important that you understand that when you vote, you will have the opportunity to vote for up to 2 people to represent you. You do not have to vote for 2. You may vote for 1. You may choose to vote for none, or you may write in a candidate. The point is, you should vote for those whom you feel will best represent you. You are not forced to vote for anyone just to fill the ballot. We encourage you to learn more about each candidate, to ask hard questions about issues here in Williamson County, and that you stay engaged after your commissioners are elected. We hope that you will vote, but we ask that you vote informed. Thank you for your time, and now your district's candidates for County Commission.
Welcome to the Williamson County Republican Party District 7 County Commission Forum. I'm Steve Abramowicz, your moderator this evening and your host of the Heartland Journal podcast. Tonight we had 3 invitations for candidates with us representing District 7. We have candidate Chris Richards, who is currently a commissioner. We'll start with, we also invited, Tom Tunnicliffe and Nancy Bailey. They declined to come. So we have, like I said, Mr. Chris Richards and Commissioner Richards. Chris Richards. We'll start with a 1-minute opening statement from Chris.
Thank you. Again, I'm Christopher Richards, your District 7 County Commissioner. And I'm asking for your vote to continue the work we've started together. 3.5 years ago, I made you a promise. I work for you, not for the administration, not for insiders, for you. That means demanding real oversight of the proposed hospital sale, a county-owned asset worth hundreds of millions of dollars that belongs to every taxpayer in this county. I've introduced resolutions calling for independent legal counsel and an independent consultant to oversee that process. Because when this much taxpayer money is on the table, the Commission cannot simply rely on advisors chosen by the administration. The Republican Party has said the same thing in writing. It means consistently voting against bond issues and borrowing because Williamson County is already carrying over $1 billion in debt, roughly $15,000 for every household in this county. And it means supporting county legislative approvals for annexation so that cities can't keep expanding, adding costs to county services, and without consent.
5.
Transparency, real fiscal responsibility, and real accountability. That's not a slogan, it's my record.
Thank you very much. What is your position on contracting Williamson Inc. for at least $400,000 annually to perform the functions of a Chamber of Commerce on behalf of the county? Should the county bring economic development function back into direct county oversight?
Absolutely. I've heard from other commissioners that they say that that's making government bigger. Government is already bigger. We're paying for those people on the Williamson Inc. staff, and we have absolutely zero accountability of what they're doing. And I've actually struggled a couple of times to stop the $400,000 that we do spend on them. Williamson Inc. is also politically involved, and I don't think it's appropriate that they're playing a part in the process of picking commissioners that also oversee their budget.
Okay. County elections are currently held as part of a pilot program using electronic voting machines and convenience centers. This trial program was put in place in an attempt to increase voter turnout, a metric according to the Secretary of State, which has not improved. Opponents to this system advocate for the return to precinct-only voting, among other changes, understanding that the State Election Commission has ultimate authority in the matter. Explain your position regarding the voting system that you believe should be employed in Williamson County.
And I'll be honest about this. I've been approached by a lot of people to implement hand-marked paper ballots. I am probably for hand-marked paper ballots just because I've heard from so many people. The current system that we have right now where paper ballots are produced, I don't know if you can actually call them ballots, but they're a record of the vote that was taken. I was originally happy with, I will say I lost by 11 votes in the last county commission race before I won in a caucus. I wanted to be able to count those ballots, and I needed a court order to do that, which seems to negate the usefulness of having the extra paper ballots. So, and that might be the same if we just went to hand-marked paper ballots. If we did do that, I would like them to be available for the public to be able to view and to be able to count and verify that their vote was counted correctly.
Yeah, every high school in America can do it every year. Why can't we? Data indicates that the student population in Williamson County schools is dropping. However, the capital budget for construction of new schools and expanding existing schools continues to grow and is approaching $1 billion. This is also a primary driver of the current $1.2 billion county debt you alluded to. What's your position regarding the current planned spending for schools in the current demographic and fiscal environment?
I have been voting, initially I did not. I voted against, probably for like the past 2 years, I voted against bond issues for the schools, except for maybe some capital improvement projects. We just had a resolution in February for $10 million, which actually equated to repairs. It was for new ceiling tiles, doors and door frames, air conditioning ducts, and possibly some renovation of air conditioning units. That to me all falls under the heading of repairs. Josh Brown, the chair of the school board, and I got into an email exchange, and he said he thought those were capital improvements. Talked to a couple of accountants, and nobody thinks those are capital improvements. All that to say that I think the school system not only is borrowing for building their schools, but they're also borrowing for repairs that out of a $500+ million budget, they should be able to find $10 million to be able to do the repairs. I think we need to do a deep dive on how the money is being spent on the school system. I've done a deep dive on a lot of things, and I actually haven't really done a deep dive on the school system other than taking the visual look at the fact that the assistant superintendents to Mr. Golden went from 2 to 7, and that's too much.
How's the state's execution of the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement, TISA, formula impacted Williamson County, and what specific policy recommendations would you propose in a county-level resolution to demand the state remedy the education funding allocation deficiency?
I definitely think we're shorted in the money that we received by the state. I think realistically, you've got to have state reps across the county, or I'm sorry, across the state who feel sorry for us enough. They won't. As county commissioner, I frequently go to statewide events where their county commissioners are there, and they tease us, and I'm not even sure they think they're kidding. Our streets are heated, that we melt the ice off of them in the wintertime. And this I'm pretty sure they're kidding about. We have gold-bricked crossing walks. And these I've heard multiple times. These are not commissioners who are going to want to give us or have their state reps give us more money. I do think we're shorted. I just don't really see that there's I would support any kind of resolution asking the state to give us more money, and I have. I just don't see that in the cards that state reps are going to have it in their heart to go, let's give Williamson County more money.
All right. As you know, the county incurs large unrecoverable costs to finance infrastructure expansion, water, sewer, roadways, schools, everything, required by the expansion of municipal boundaries through annexation. What is your position regarding the recent Williamson County Commission resolution which demands that the state of Tennessee change the law to empower county governments to have a say regarding annexation?
I was in favor of that. I voted for that resolution. I know I'm usually in step with the leaders of the city of Brentwood. I know the city mayor of Brentwood personally called me out and didn't really substantively talk about the issues about what was wrong with that resolution. All we're doing is asking the state to relook at how annexation occurs. And what I had heard from was a lot of residents who had been annexed without their consent. That bothers me. The most important issue for my Brentwood residents is the growth. The growth that's caused by rapid annexation and the building that goes on to that property that they then annex. That's my biggest concern, and that's probably the biggest issue that I hear from my constituents in District 7.
Okay, we'll delve into that in a minute. Again, the sale of WC Health County Hospital is a major current issue involving potentially several $100 million. The debate centers on the preservation of a high-quality nonprofit hospital serving the community versus the liquidation of county ownership, which may or may not directly benefit the taxpayers. What's your position on this?
If the funds do not directly benefit the taxpayers, I will vote no on selling the hospital. I don't like the way the sale process is going on. We're the oversight body of the Williamson County Hospital Board. We appoint the members on there. We have no idea what's going on right now. There's an active sale process that they're trying to call strategic planning. It's been going on for about 6 months. I think it's gone long beyond strategic planning. It's moved by all accounts into a sale process. They just want to continue using the strategic planning cover. Why, I don't know. I'm not sure, but they definitely don't want the oversight of the elected body that people have elected us to oversee this property and all of the other county property. And I'm just wondering why we're not being allowed to have that oversight. So, but to answer your question, I would not vote for anything that didn't allow the citizens to get back that money. Putting it into a charitable trust is unacceptable.
Okay. There's a proposal underway to replace the current county courthouse. What's your position regarding whether to expand the current facility, build a new one, lease additional space, or do nothing?
That's a good question. I'm still in the process of analyzing that. What concerns me most is that the current courthouse, I was told multiple times, was insufficient when they moved in. It seems like there's a rush to fix things, and there's a rush to build this new courthouse, which is on questionably valued property on Columbia Ave. So that's my first concern, that I don't really like the price of the property on Columbia Ave. I would more prefer to look at existing buildings. I'm sure we can probably make something work, and those are usually at a much cheaper cost. From everything I've heard, I've not been able to go on a tour of the old courthouse. It's not adequate. So something needs to be fixed, and there's not room to expand it. I am thinking that we should probably use some current county-owned property or purchase something that I'm sure we could do much cheaper than building a new $150, $200 million property.
Yeah. At the same time, the next question, the Williamson County Sheriff's Office has sought and received millions already in additional budget funds to build a new jail, purchase new equipment, hire staff, and increase wages. What's your position regarding the current spending levels in support of the Sheriff's Office? I've been on a tour of the jail. I have concerns about how quickly the jail fell apart. It's what I consider a relatively new jail. Was built at the end of the 1980s. And I really wonder why it's falling apart. I know a lot of people have said there's blasting, and there's blasting that goes on almost underneath the jail. What I did see when I went on a tour was a lot of cracked windows and a lot of cracked concrete, which could be caused by blasting, could be caused by settling, could be caused by both. Again, it seems like something that maybe wasn't well planned and well built. I generally, I trust Sheriff Hughes and his judgment. And he's told me that they really feel like they need a new jail, and I do think that we need a new jail or serious renovations to the old jail. But I'm not a construction expert. Okay, doing nothing doesn't sound like an option. All right, Tennessee law uses sleight of hand language requiring counties and cities maintaining a balanced budget. The term does not require that counties and cities remain debt-free. With WC debt at $1.2 billion and rising, what is your position regarding the trajectory of our county debt, and what would you do about it?
Well, what I'd like to see done, and I completely agree with you, a lot of the commissioners who've been there for 20, 30 years say, we pass a balanced budget. We do. We have to by state law. That doesn't stop us from the very next week going out and issuing some bonds. Mathematically, that has to be what happens, or we wouldn't be in debt. It's simple math. Usually most of these things boil down to very, very simple issues. I've become the debt guy, and that's what I campaigned on 4 years ago. I've tried very hard not to approve any new debt. Like I mentioned, even about schools, the only time I make an exception is in public safety. What I'd like to see us do is have I honestly think from fraud, waste, and abuse, there's maybe about $200 million being wasted in the county. And those are just my rough guesstimates based upon what I see from other issues, lack of proper bidding being done on insurance contracts. I think we could probably have a lot of savings just from that. I mean, imagine if we found an extra $200 million in our budget every single year. But that debt has to be paid off. It's costing us about $120 million a year just to service that debt, which back to schools is about building a new school every single year. So the more we borrow, the less we can build schools, or we have to raise taxes.
Right. Shifting gears slightly, the Republican National Committee, Tennessee Republican Party, and Williamson County Republican Party have all published platform documents indicating what the party believes and stands for. What, if any, of those stated beliefs amongst the three do you oppose?
I don't think there was anything that I directly opposed.
Okay, good. We can use that extra time to follow up on any of the other ones, or we can move on. There's more questions, so we could move on.
Let's go ahead with it.
Okay. What is your position regarding adult-themed topics, notably regarding sexuality, being presented in schools, public libraries, or other public areas where children will be in the audience?
I think that's entirely inappropriate. It's something the county commission doesn't honestly have much often to do with. It tends to be more like maybe a City of Franklin issue, but I think it's inappropriate.
Okay. Williamson County has experienced extraordinary commercial and residential growth over the past 2 decades. You said other commissioners around the state have noticed. The pace of development has contributed to rising housing costs, persistent traffic congestion, smog, and an increased strain on county infrastructure and public services, water. What policies would you propose to balance economic development with the capacity of infrastructure, housing supply, and county services? Specifically, should the county reconsider its economic development strategy, including its relationship with Williamson, Inc., in order to slow or better manage future growth?
And I'll take this opportunity to mention 2 things. I again pushed for, and I think I was successful because of this pushing, to have Williamson Inc. change their metrics in their contract. Their contract was stated that they wanted to, the county wanted them to grow, by the county I mean the county administration, the county mayor, and by us, the commission signing the contract wanted Williamson Inc. to grow the county at 25% above the national average, which is nuts. We need to put a brake on that. There was an adequate facilities tax that I helped. I got a study done on that determined that we could charge the state maximum, it's $2 per square foot on new business development. I think it solves 2 problems at once, a little bit of extra tax income, which I don't want to see the property tax owners being taxed more for growth. And I'd like to see the businesses, who are coming here, and we're happy to have them, but there's a cost to having them here, and I'd like to see them pay their fair share. This is a minuscule way to be able to do that.
Interesting. Okay, so now we have time for a short answer, yes, no question area or time. So commit, explain, specify. What's the most pressing issue in Williamson County today?
I think the debt. We already covered that. It takes so much. It's taking so much out of the budget annually that it's becoming a problem we can't ignore.
What's the most pressing issue facing your district today?
The growth. That seems to be what I hear, and that's kind of related to the debt. But they don't like all the traffic the traffic from Franklin to Nashville goes through in both directions on the I-65 and Franklin Road, and they're getting tired of that.
Where do you get most of your local news?
That is really hard. Usually from word of mouth. I have a hard time. I see what happens during the commission meetings, and I see what's not reported. I asked some very pointed questions in the last commission meeting of our outside counsel on the hospital sale, and none of that was reported in the news. And they were very important questions that I think need to be covered.
If the hospital sells, should the proceeds go to the healthcare trust or be returned to the county? I think I know what you're going to say.
Absolutely returned to the county.
How many county commission meetings have you attended in the last year?
In the last year, there should be 10. Maybe with budget, there's 11. I missed one a year ago, January, because I was sick. I think that's the only commission meeting I've missed. Are we talking committee meetings also?
Commission meetings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've attended every one but one, and that was more than a year ago.
90%, that's pretty darn good. Yes or no, should Williamson County end the annual $400,000 plus contract with Williamson Inc. and return to a traditional chamber model not funded by county taxpayers?
Yes.
What economic development function should the county still fund directly?
I think the Economic Development Office was originally in-house. It was a staff, may well still be a staff of 6. I really don't know. I would have to look at that further to see how much staff we need. It's definitely good to have your finger on the pulse of the economic development, and we don't want to let what we have going die. So that's kind of to be determined.
Should Williamson County advocate returning to precinct-only voting rather than countywide convenience centers?
I am not sure. I think my wife is in cybersecurity, and the precinct centers are a cybersecurity nightmare. So in that regard, yes. From what I hear from my constituents, no. I know that's not a really good answer. I am unsure.
If we listen to them, what security and audit standards should be required to keep them?
A lot more than, there's a simple, my wife went on a tour where they keep the voting machines is in a locked closet. And I always give this as an example. And they say, well, nobody's touched this. And she was like, well, how do you know? Like, well, it's a locked room. Well, who has keys? And could copies of keys be made? Most importantly, there's no camera on the door. So while those machines are in there, somebody could pick that lock, get in there, and do anything to these machines. That's just a simple one issue example of how the machines could be made much more secure. I learned from her. She's the expert in that field.
Should Williamson County pause or reduce new school construction until enrollment trends and debt capacity are reevaluated?
I think we can pause.
What enrollment threshold should trigger new construction?
I would say that's a tough one. Tentatively, I would say over 10%.
Over 10%.
Increase.
Okay. Should Williamson County oppose annexation that impose infrastructure costs unless cities pay those costs?
I would probably, and it's that I'd have to look at the numbers, but I would probably say at least splitting the cost with us. That is a lot of the reason why the county's in the trouble that they are, because we don't get a vote on a lot of this new development. And so at least have a mechanism in place where that discussion could be had about who's going to cover these expenses.
What legislative change should the county pursue to make that happen?
The one that we're looking at right now, like we passed a resolution to have the state relook at that formula. And honestly, the biggest thing I think is the citizens having a vote. It's not even, because the citizens are the ones who have to pay the taxes. Mm-hmm. If they're okay with being annexed and they're okay with their taxes going up, then I think everybody's happy.
Okay. They're going to yell at me about yes or no's, so
okay.
We'll try our best. But you can have a short
answer.
Okay,
I'm sorry. All right. We'll do
These
more
are complex. So should Williamson County sell its ownership interest in the hospital if an attractive proposal is offered?
That's hard to say yes or no. I'm going to just say yes to try and follow the rules.
What non-negotiable condition must be included?
That the money goes back to the taxpayers.
That's what I'd say too. Yes or no? Should the county reject building a new courthouse until expansion or leasing options are proven inadequate?
Yes.
What decision rule should determine that need?
That's again, I feel like a politician. That's complex. I'm not sure there's any one rule, but all I know is what I'm looking at right now, the land looks too expensive. Our county buildings look a lot cheaper. Existing buildings look a lot cheaper. I would like to take a look at those. I'm sure there's cheaper options.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Should increases in the sheriff's budget be limited unless measurable outcomes are demonstrated?
I am fairly confident we did a long study. Well, it's yes or no? No.
What spending increases do you support, and how should it be funded?
We saw last year I was troubled by the fact that we were funding parks and borrowing money, and we couldn't find $750,000 for police cars. We kept on, and to me, I try and manage the county budget like I manage my own home budget, and police cars come before parks, and I would bring that up every single time. And so those are the kind of, public safety is our number one responsibility. And that's why I say that that's something that should come before parks, before schools, before anything else.
Okay, yeah, can't plan a park if it's not safe. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
What debt limit or ratio should be adopted? I guess actually the yes or no is, should Williamson County adopt a policy to stop increasing net debt until debt falls below a defined
that's easy.
threshold? And then what would that threshold be?
I would say yes, but I know I live debt free, so it's very hard for me to say any debt is okay, because it takes away from money you could otherwise spend. But I do understand sometimes for capital improvement projects, but there needs to be a clear end of the payments in sight before. It's very easy to get back into debt, as a lot of people in debt understand. You just keep on building upon the debt you have there, and like, well, I've already borrowed this. I'm just much more comfortable with zero debt, which is not unlike the city of Brentwood. It's largely, they have some bonds right now, but they could easily pay them off with what they have in their general fund.
It would be more like that.
Yes.
That'd be good. Do you generally align with the principle of the Republican National Committee, Tennessee Republican Party, and Williamson Republican Party platforms?
Yes.
Which principle is most important for county government?
For county government? Well, I'm trying to think I think of honestly a lot of what President Trump has said. We're kind of going back to election integrity, which has kind of resonated with me. That like the voter ID laws, which we largely have here in Williamson County, but we don't have fully secure voting machines. And I think actually President Trump is against the vote centers. And again, I mentioned my conflict there, where a lot of my citizens like the vote centers, but maybe don't understand the inherent risks in voting like that.
Education is important. Should county-funded institutions restrict sexually explicit material from spaces available to minors?
Yes.
What policies should define restricted materials?
I'm not sure what that question means. Very strict. I think we should be protecting our kids from any kind of inappropriate materials. And honestly, what that is up to the parents.
What should define restricted materials from the county's perspective?
Well, I'm not sure. Anything that the parents think is inappropriate.
Okay, we're doing great. Should Williamson County change its economic development strategy in order to slow or better manage commercial and population growth that is contributing to housing price pressure, traffic congestion, and strain on county infrastructure?
Yes.
What specific policy tools should the county use to manage growth? For example, infrastructure, concurrency requirements, development impact fees, or change to economic development contracts with Williamson Inc. What can we do?
The adequate facilities tax is one thing. We've already done that. I believe we're eventually going to head to the state maximum. The impact fees are good. There's limitations about how you can use that money. It seems anti-conservative. But taxes on businesses, I think, are a good way to just I want to slam the brakes on growth. I want to gently pump the brakes on growth.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time. That is the end of this segment of the Williamson County Republican Party County Commission Forum. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And definitely get out there and vote.
Do I get my closing statement? Or?
And now we'll have the closing statement. 1 minute.
Well, I had pre-written. Tonight you've heard from the candidates. Unfortunately, you've only heard from me. And that's a disservice to the residents of District 7. But at the end of the day, this comes down to one question: who actually shows up for District 7? That's appropriate. I door knock for your neighbors. I respond to your emails. When our county attorney had a conflict of interest in the hospital sale worth hundreds of millions of dollars, I didn't look the other way. I filed an ethics complaint. When the numbers of a $17.5 million real estate purchase didn't add up, I voted no. When bond issues came before the commission, I voted no, because $15,000 of debt per household is not something we should keep adding to. Growth in Williamson County is real and is not slowing down, but cities shouldn't be able to annex land, expand their boundaries, and dump the cost of roads, schools, and services onto county taxpayers without the commission having a say. I stood for that principle consistently. My opponents would tell you they're lifelong conservatives. I'd encourage every voter to look closely at the full record, not just what candidates say about themselves, but what the record actually shows.
Commissioner Richards, thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.